for people that want to be fighter pilots or a mobility pilot or a rotary wing pilot or what have you in the Air Force, you got to remember that it's a long journey to get there. There's a lot of steps, and so it's one step at a time, one bite at a time. So if you want to be a fighter pilot, you got to remember you got to be a pilot first, and if you want to be a pilot first, you got to be an officer first. Before you can be an officer, you got to be a college student, and so on and so forth. During ROTC, so the first hurdle's out of the way. I made it into college, graduate high school, make it into college to be an officer, because we only have in the Air Force we only let officers fly. Enlisted individuals are not pilots; they can be aircrew members, with the exception of RPAs. We let them fly RPAs in certain circumstances. But in ROTC, I had to take the Air Force Officer Qualifying Test, the AFOQT. And within that, there is a pilot knowledge section that tests on, like, just do you know fundamentals about flight, essentially. And it's not very in depth. I don't remember it being very in depth at all. But you take the AFOQT. You also take a separate test called the Test of Basic Aviation Skills, or the TBAS, and that is more of a cognitive and hand-eye coordination type test. So more mind games instead of just straight up knowledge, book knowledge. Yeah. So you're trying to, find the matching shape or click these dots in the very specific sequence, and you got to remember it. Yeah. Kind of tests to test your cognitive ability for aviation. And so halfway through RTC, and that 2-week program that I mentioned is called field training for Air Force RTC. And your performance at field training is evaluated. And so in your junior year, for the normal 4-year student, this happens in about their junior year, you compete for a job in the Air Force. So you've graduated field training, which means that the Air Force has decided that they're going to let you commission. And now they have to determine what job you want to have. And if you want to be a pilot, you take the TBAS. Everybody takes the AFOQT. Yeah. And then the people at your ROTC detachment give you a score based on your AFOQT, your TBAS, and any previous flight hours that you have accumulated as a civilian pilot. Yeah. And that score is called your PICSM, Pilot Candidate Selection Method. Okay, your PICSM score. So, but the PICSM is only one score that goes forward towards helping determine whether or not you're going to be a pilot. Yeah. So remember, your field training was evaluated. So that goes into your ranking. Your academic performance in school goes into your ranking. Your PT performance, like how well you do on PT tests, goes into your ranking. And then finally, the biggest chunk of your score is actually what the detachment commander and the cadre evaluate you to be. And they will usually rack and stack the students. Oh, okay. And you get more points if you're at the top. So all of that is compiled into giving you a score, and then they rack and stack that score against everybody across the country that wants to pilot slide. And then they draw a line, and everybody above the line gets a chance to go fly. Wow. And everyone below the line has to compete for something else.